Alright guys, here we're going to talk about the movie Mortal Kombat. 1996's Mortal Kombat. Lee, I know you've seen this one.
No, I haven't.
I'll fucking throw you under a bus.
Everyone has seen this one.
That's my thought.
This is a classic. This is the Mortal Kombat. Everyone knows this movie.
I love this movie
Yes.
like so much. The nostalgia is super great. Yeah. I also think it has one of the better castings of any like video game movie like period, because like all these characters to me like embody these things. A lot of them affected the future of the video game franchise and changed how they were doing things based on how good these people are.
A few people like play the voices in the video game, right?
Sonya Blade is still the voice, I believe.
It's really interesting. Yeah, and like several people in this are people you've seen in other movies and different things like that. I like to think of this. And especially now having rewatched it, I feel even stronger because in a way, Mortal Kombat was Big Trouble in Little China, the game. So this is like Big Trouble in Little China, the game, the movie. And it's come back around. And I think it picks up on a lot of those vibes and things that made that movie good in like a weird, I don't even know if it was intentional, but it's tongue-in-cheek and stylish, and I think it's actually good. Not just nostalgic and just hearing that dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, does that the fucking
It is powerful from the goddamn jump. The movie, like at 001, that song is playing.
I like to call that the I'm in the right theater, like approach to like a movie where just instantly is like, yes, there you go, you want this, don't you? That song was everywhere, and it's so nostalgic.
It's like a platinum selling album
because it was so like stand-up comedians made fun of that song in their acts during this time frame. It was so pop, it was so out there. But I think it's actually pretty good. I think it like does a good job doing what it's trying to do.
Yeah,
I actually think it's not a like guilty pleasure. It's just like a movie, right?
No, like I think it's definitely better as a kid than as an adult because you scrutinize more things. You're like, wait a minute, okay, I'll go over that stuff in spoilers.
Absolutely,
but I think it's definitely a fun movie. The visuals of this movie I love. Yeah, I love the practical effects. I love like the matte painting backgrounds. I love composite shots. I don't know what Goro is, but I love that shit.
Puppetry and magic. No, there's and this is like an earlier Paul W.S. Anderson vehicle. So this is before he met Mia Jovovich to put her as a Sonya Blade role. He had someone else, right? Yeah. But it's cool to see his like touch on this and everything too.
Exactly.
So thumbs up from me.
For sure, definitely check this one out if you somehow haven't seen it. If you have, we're gonna fall over to spoilers now, and if not, just pull out now and go pick up this movie. It's fantastic.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
Alright guys, so here we are with the spoilers on Mortal Kombat. So let me hear them spoiler-filled thoughts, Lee.
I liked it. Like I said, I think it's good. I think it's like the fights are fine and they make everybody look cool, which is like I think the most important part of this type of movie. I see the Paul Anderson like thing where the later movies were sometimes only about trying to make only his wife look cool. And this is like the beginning where he can put that spin on it and just like things are ridiculous, things are bad, things are dumb, but they are stylish. They look cool, and I think
it's definitely a style.
Like my memory was Street Fighter 2 a better game and a better movie, better cast, funnier, like more famous people, took greater liberties. This movie, shit, much like the Genesis, bad graphics, dumb. And now watching it, I'm like, this is good.
You possess the knowledge. All that is lacking now is the will.
I also enjoy Street Fighter. This one, I learned, was going to have Jean-Claude Van Damme as our lead boy here.
Johnny Cage?
Okay,
yeah. I was gonna say,
apparently,
I'm like, as Liu Kang? Because that's crazy.
Apparently Johnny Cage, the actual character, was modeled off of him. So they're like, oh, he's our first choice. And he couldn't do it because he was filming Street Fighter.
I didn't realize they were so close together.
Which is so funny that like the rivalry continues even into the movies.
Interesting.
You're like, okay.
Might explain a lot.
A couple other characters. So originally, Sonya Blade wasn't going to be herself. She signed on, and then like shit happened or whatever, and she got stuck doing Happy.
Some other.
Not Happy Gilmore. Billy Madison.
Instead of being an idiot every day, why don't you go back to school, graduate, and get the company?
Oh yeah.
And like, they then signed what the hell's her name? Oh, they saw her in The Mask.
Oh, what's her name from The Mask?
I can't think of her fucking name now.
No one knows her name.
Everyone knows her name. She's like one of the most famous girls in the world. Cameron Diaz. But she broke her wrist during the training, and she couldn't do the movie. And it took so long that Billy Madison was wrapped, and she got to come right back and do the movie.
I'm so happy. I don't know Bridget something.
Yeah.
I don't know her, this actress too much, but she's in so many things.
Yeah.
That haunted house thing, Hill House, Haunting of Hill Manor, whatever it is. She's in that movie. That's not it. I know that's not it. Don't tell me it's not it. And like a few other things, Billy Madison, and like she was around during this time.
Yes.
I saw her face a lot. I don't know if she did much action, but I think she pulls this off, which is insane.
She did like all her own stunts, I want to say, like, or at least when practical in this.
Nice.
And she dislocated her shoulder at one point, and they just popped it back in on set, and she went right back to doing it.
So this movie has a lot of fighting and has a lot of people who I think can fight, because some of them can't act at all. And I'm like, well, obviously like a fighter, that's fine. But such a weird mixture where, like, in general, everybody seems to be doing both things.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some stunt doubles, but there's also just like
Liu Kang, who's like obviously a martial artist guy, pushed Johnny Cage to like go harder and do his own stunts and stuff, which caused him to take a horrible kick to the kidney, and he's pissing blood and shit.
What are you doing?
That's what I was gonna say. Is Sonya probably did her own stunts because of all the pressure? Because you have like 80% of those people are doing all their own stunts. So other people are like, well, I don't want to be the only one who needs a stunt double. I want to do my own stunts too.
And but her showing up late caused like they all had the like weeks of training. She didn't get that.
Exactly.
So they were filming scenes. She would then go train, then film scenes, then go train. Like
that's awesome.
So she was a trooper, and I think she's great. I think a lot of the characters in this movie are so perfectly cast.
Mortal Kombat continues.
And like it's a 90s thing where like nowadays, like, and it's not like these are all like, when I saw this A stars in my book where I'm like, oh, I know you from this, that, and this and that. I don't think I knew anybody in this movie.
Well, because they
really
had to use all the rejects who were not filming Street Fighter at the same time, so they only had slim
Even
pickings.
Street Fighter though had I think was a really well cast movie. The 90s had this thing where I think they put a lot of effort into like finding the exact person, costuming this person in a way that like is like fun and interesting for that character. The costumes in this one just fucking change just for fun constantly.
I wonder if there were more famous people back then too, because it feels like, or maybe in hindsight we just know who like kept being famous. Because it always feels like you watch an old movie like this and there's like 10 people that you know, as opposed to like a new movie where it's like, it's that guy.
Yeah.
It's the new Zac Efron.
As a child, I just took it all at face value of like, yep, it's a tournament. This is great. I love fighting. It's awesome. As an adult watching it again, I'm like, they really play it fast and loose with the rules of this tournament. It doesn't seem like there's any rules.
The biggest weakness here, and like it like spikes a few times, and then by the end it's just pegged, where it's like early on he's like, they have won, they have to win 10 consecutive, they've won 9 times, and I'm like, why not just make it 1 then? I guess that's from the lore of the game, but who cares about that? Why does it have to be the 10th and final time?
But that's...
And that just escalates to where it's like, I challenge you, that doesn't count, I challenge you. Wait, no, if he challenges him, but I can't follow you, you must go that way in the portal. And they're like, I'm like, whoa, stop. Just because up until then, it's just randomly cutting to fights, and it's great. Because it's like playing through stages of the video game. It's super easy. And then they feel the need to say, he took her to the castle.
Where's he taking her?
To the Emperor's castle. In the wastelands of Outworld where I cannot follow.
Here's some plot, and just
he put her in a dress.
It's
like he changed her?
He did her hair. She has a perm. It's amazing.
The thing that I don't get is like, so you have Raiden has his challengers, which is presumably every mortal in the fight.
The best
are
of
like
the mortals.
are like his boys, and most of them he's like, they're gonna die. I don't even know why I brought them.
They don't stand a chance.
What about the others?
They are all great fighters. But I have looked into their souls. One of you 3 will decide the outcome of the tournament.
But the 3 main characters here we're like, okay, they are the ones that have a chance. One of them could win. I don't know which one. Whatever. We're gonna see what happens. But I don't understand, why are humans fighting against humans in this tournament anyway? Shouldn't it just be like all our guys versus all your guys, and eventually one guy's around, and that's the guy that wins. But it's not that. It's like, okay, we're fighting this and that. So, potentially Goro fights every single person and kills them all at one point.
There's a montage
of them dying.
And it's like Wedding Crashers when they keep throwing the ladies onto the bed. It's just, and it speeds up. They keep, and like, it's actually brilliant because they don't have to show Goro. They just show the aftermath of all these dudes hitting the fucking, it's like gravel, I think, but like the ring at the end of like getting like knocked out and all that stuff. It's awesome. To your point though, this is the problem with making a movie about a fighting game. Because in the game you just pick a character. I'm sure there's like an official storyline to these games.
Now especially there's been like 11 games.
Well, and like
more than that.
Mortal Kombat famous for its convoluted and like evolving lore. There's like time travel now and weird. You go meet your past self or something. Things get crazy, and I appreciate that. But then when they make the movie, it's like and like Street Fighter has to do the exact same thing. We have to pick good guys and bad guys. We have to have a main character. It has to be like a progression. Like by design, the fighting game just has a bunch of, you can pick anyone and you can play and you fight everyone else and then you fight Shang Tsung or M. Bison and then you win the game and that's it, right? Whereas in the movie that would not work, I guess, or something. So they have to like, you hop around the world and like meet characters and then they all come together, but some are friends and some are not, and people are fighting people where you're like, who's that guy? Why is he fighting him? Yes, it makes no sense.
The maps or levels, whatever you want to call it, don't make sense because
the maps,
at certain points it's like, okay, all these fights took place in like a ring or like an area that like, okay, you're fighting here. Okay, that makes sense, but sometimes you can run around and do things like pushed him off a cliff. There's all this kind of stuff where I'm like, the rules are, again, they're very loose.
So, and they threw in a line. Shang Tsung says, the whole island will be my battlefield or something like that.
From this moment on, my island will be your battleground.
And I'm like, okay, they added that because they cut from like the third or fourth fight in a ring to just Johnny Cage is just in this endless field of trees fighting Scorpion.
There's no setup for that fight too.
There's no setup. There's no audience. There's no like official Shang Tsung's. Shang Tsung's not there to wait to suck a soul.
Yeah.
It just takes place in some other place. Again, like a video game, which I can forgive and it's fine. But they have to just keep going crazier and crazier.
Well, then he gets teleport sucked into like the under the bed land from Little Monsters.
The Little Monsters underworld. Yeah, the like red smoky catwalked underworld with skeletons and they fight there. So like that fight's very long and like I loved Scorpion's hand spear getting stuck in the trees and then when they changed levels, when they fell through the level and went to the secret level, I was like, I don't like this anymore. But then the finale of the fight, when Johnny Cage jumps with a flaming shield and cuts him, and he's like brimming with his elemental energy. This is like a theme where like the pressure's getting released and then he like dies. And this again is more Big Trouble in Little China energy because he gets him and then he's like a victim of his own power and he blows up and stuff. It's so dumb. But okay,
he pulls off his own face. You can see the skull. He's breathing fire. It's like, okay, you've gone sicko mode. Like, what's going on here?
He's taking it to 11. He's really bringing it. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. Like the fight with Sub-Zero. Like, you must use the element that gives life.
Use the element which brings life.
And I'm like, okay. Like, how hard did he throw that water that when it went through the ice, it spears him to his death?
Okay, so bucket of water gets tossed. The freezing field, he's channeling a spirit bomb of ice.
Yeah, and then the biggest one ever.
And then the bucket of water freezes and turns into a giant spike.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, it's going to be a spike. And then when it cuts, the spike is huge. It's so big. It's so much bigger. And water gets a little bigger when it freezes, but still not that much bigger. It's crazy.
Well, it was hollow, though, you see.
Good. That makes more sense. Yeah. But the same thing happens where now that Sub-Zero has been like punctured, he begins to freeze too much. He's overflowing with his elemental power, and it is his own undoing, and it's wonderful.
He throws the I'm sure what that's called, the principle that will hold the water into the bucket while he's spinning it. And he
centrifugal force.
Yeah, centrifugal force. And he throws it, which would then the bucket would be flying through him, but then somehow the bucket just disintegrates or something. I was like, okay.
The freezing field. That's the thing.
Wood, not strong enough to be frozen. Water is fine.
Exactly. No, it's goofy, it's crazy. I think that the effects are like a mixed bag here, because some of the ice stuff's like good. Some of like the Scorpion's skull face is good, but like like in my head, I want to say like Goro, good or bad. Scorpion, good or bad. Scorpion spear, good or bad. But all of those things have moments where they are good and moments where they are bad.
I think
it's a mixture,
all of
right?
Goro is fantastic.
Well,
I'm not
it's bad
100% sure
sometimes,
what
yeah.
what it even is,
Yes.
honestly, because I'm like okay, it's like a weird claymation. It's off-putting. It looks like
Yes.
like some Get 'em to Mars kind of shit. Like I'm like, what's happening there? Like, what is your face made of? And then like at certain points, she's like, okay, he's wearing a cape. Is that so that like when he walks, there could be a guy that's just the other arms, and then the cape's off, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't know what that is. And it looks way better than the new Mortal Kombat one. Have you seen the trailer for the new Mortal Kombat?
I didn't know there was a new Mortal Kombat.
There's a new Mortal Kombat coming out, and Goro is completely CG. He's only in the trailer for a few seconds, but he looks way better in this one that's like 20 years older.
I think sometimes Goro looks really bad, but I will give to you that, and most of the movie when it looks bad, I was gonna say like bad CG. This is some like nostalgically bad CG that I can get behind, a la Hercules: Legendary Journeys.
Sure.
Sometimes, most of the time, CG that's bad is just unacceptably bad. Takes me out of the movie. I hate it. But sometimes here, not all the time, it's charmingly bad.
Yeah, it's like Lex.
Yeah, Goro is, though, he must be a puppet, and there's like credits for sculptures in the, sculptors in the.
Well, there's
credits and
also a
stuff.
million statues
There's,
in the movie, so it
yeah.
could also be those things,
absolutely, but
which are cool looking in themselves.
But I think that Goro was built, as something, and all the different shots do different things. There is an amazing shot when he has a weird look on his face, and he like pans his head across, and I was like, this is amazing. And it's that's clearly not CG, because like they couldn't light CG well enough, back in those days. So like when like the arms do stuff or things happen, or when it's like a tight shot, only upper body, I'm like, okay, you built a Goro, in some way.
Yeah, his
right?
scale is slightly inconsistent too, which would make me think that he's a model, because at one point when he's fighting with Johnny Cage, he's only a few inches taller than him.
I'll crush him in one blow.
And at other points, I'm like, his second row of arms is like over people's heads. Like he's a giant. Like, what an intimidating thing to fight, just because he's like, looking at him, you're like, you are off-putting. And then like, he's got 4 arms, he's a giant.
Yeah.
I love his chair. His chair is so cool because it has double arm sets, so both sets of his arms are on rail. I'm like, that's great. Little things like that, so good.
No, I think because like a lot of this comes from the games, where it's like, well, they do that in the game, so I can't give the movie credit. But yes, Goro's like ordinarily you'd be like, extra arms, like whatever, like why is that so scary or something? But in this movie, he actually demonstrates. He holds someone with one set of arms and he just bops them, but he still uses the other set, independently. So you could imagine maybe in a better, like as a kid, your brain would imagine that he blocks your strikes, and then with his other arms, like punching, like
hold you and like ripping you apart.
It's this crazy thing.
They don't tee off on someone.
They don't do a lot of that, but they give you enough to go off of, where you get why, to your point, he's so imposing. He makes so much sense as this ultimate villain, where yes, he just tears through the whole Earth force, the whole Earth defense force gets mutilated by Goro. Yes.
Sub-Zero, awesome. I love his opening thing where he freezes Sonya's gun and breaks it.
Absolutely.
In the new trailer, you see him grab Jax's arms and rip them off.
This trailer sounds horrible.
So
many spoilers.
The movie looks like it was written to come out in the 90s, but it definitely looks better than like it looks like now. It looks just like a show off of like, we're doing some cool shit, boys.
Well, it's probably all filmed with like one actor by themselves on like a green screen, just repeatedly, right?
Maybe.
But that intro is great. He freezes the gun, and Scorpion's spear monster comes out like just pokes his head out, and like. I love the Johnny Cage character. Let's get to that.
Oh yeah, he's perfect.
He's Kurt Russell from Big Trouble in Little China. He's cracking wise. He's doing his stuff.
What if all the legends were true? What legends?
And like after that scene, because I always hate in movies when something supernatural or powerful happens, and everyone goes, "Man, something must be in the water up here. You think they're on steroids?" And you're like, well, "You idiot! Like he just froze your guy." So like literally in the next scene, Johnny Cage is like, "This guy's flaming. This guy's made of lightning. Like what the? This is crazy."
We got another guy who freezes stuff, and then there's a man who, as far as I can tell, is made out of electricity. I mean, how did he disappear like that? What is going on here? Who is this guy?
And he just instantly nails the tone of like everyone can see what's happening, everyone understands that they're screwed, and there's elemental ninjas fighting them, right?
Like back to the rules real quick and how they are so inconsistent. They fight like a handful of dudes.
We got company.
Like just before the tournament. And I'm like, okay, so the villain can just send dudes to potentially kill or rough you up right before the tournament?
That's against the rules. Raiden shows up and says, cut it out.
He does. But it doesn't stop the fact that they already fought like 9 people.
Exactly.
Should there not be a like, oh, disqualified, you just sent people to fight things here?
No,
if you could send people, why don't you send 1 million people? And you can use weapons. Like Kano pulls a knife out in the middle of his Sonya fight.
Ooh, now look at this.
It would have been funny if she just shot him, and he just dies.
Oh, there was a scene, I forget if it was that one or something else, where I was expecting the Indiana Jones. Somebody was like doing all their cool stuff, and I expected like, just like kill someone immediately. But yes. No, like Shang Tsung's breaking the rules, and that's cool. But yes, there's no like authority. There's no referee.
No.
So it's this weird.
In the game, some people have weapons too.
Yeah,
so
I'm
like, okay, weapons are allowed, and you can seemingly bring or wear whatever you like. Because I think all the people that he summons at the end were previous fighters. I
assume.
So like, there's one dude who's a samurai, he's in full samurai attire. He has a samurai sword, and I'm like, well, if you're a guy who's like, I'm really good at takedowns and ground wrestling, and you're like, I have a sword. Like those are not even matches at all, and I kind of love that.
No, and the rules are super loose, but I feel like there's actually like a good tension where there's no referee to like appeal to. It's bullshit, but this is how like old fantasy things would be. Is like it is written the prophecy, you can't do that, and they go, oh, your prophecy, forget the prophecy. And it's this weird like, wait, no, time out, no, you're doing it wrong. But there's no one there to like say that, so Raiden has to try to keep, stay on the ball, and he does show up, but he's like late maybe. And yes, they could have been killed or. Now they're tired and they're not going to fight as well the next day or something, right?
I love Raiden, Christopher Lambert, or Lambert, I don't know how to pronounce it. I love him. I love him in this. I love his little laugh he does.
Oh my God.
Like every part of it is just, he's like just a ham.
My dominions are well known to me, sorcerer. Thank you.
But it's so good, and as a kid you're like, oh yeah. And like and now you're like, oh, it's really whitewashed. It's kind of weird, but it's still pretty great.
Yeah, why is he the whatever, is it Chinese or Japanese, the god of lightning or something? Raijin. But no, fucking, it's great. He corpses like 4 times when he's like talking. He goes,
the fate of billions will depend upon you.
Sorry. And he like slaps the guy like, yeah, get him. Ooh, sorry.
Sorry.
And does these goofy ass things that don't make any sense. I don't know if that's like, that doesn't even make sense for Raiden or for anybody. That's just Chris Lambert just like,
I love it.
Doing it, I think.
I love it so much.
Do you think it's in the script? Do you think he just did that?
I think he did whatever he wanted.
I think so too.
But I'm not sure. I love how Kano looks. I think Kano is like perfect.
If you so much as touch our Kano, you're going to need a seeing eye dog.
Until he's in his fighting scene. When he's in the dark, he looks so good. When he's in the light, it like takes some of that because he's very intimidating in the dark. When you see him in the light, not so much. And like that fight in
with
general,
that Halloween costume thing on his face, yes.
That fight in general might be the worst fight of the movie. Like her doing that flip up and like choking him out with the legs. I'm like, there's no pressure there at all. Oh, it's okay.
No, she's so powerful, Stefan. She can do that.
Well, to her credit, though, nothing about looking at her or in that fight do I go, that wouldn't happen.
Cool.
She looks like a badass bitch. Like she's doing some shit where I'm like, okay. Like when she's doing the shadow box training kind of stuff, I was like, those don't look like proper cells. But then when she was doing the exact move to Kano, I was like, okay, yeah, that backhand, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. It was really just that end of the fight. It really tapered hard for me.
Like I said, not because she's a chick necessarily, but because I knew her from other roles that were not action. I kind of, as this movie's playing out, I'm like, okay, she's been talking tough. We haven't seen her do action stuff yet. I'm worried. But in that first scene when they fight the randos, she does a good like hit, and I'm like, oh, okay. Cool, this is gonna work, I think. And then it kind of works.
It's just in general when you put any, not even just because she's a lady, when you put a small person who's supposed to be strong and powerful up against a big person, sometimes it just sells as like, okay, this is some Disney shit. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, you need Mia Jovovich. You need someone
but
who's
this
magic
worked pretty good.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's sold. There's one awkward clothesline she does, which is just like.
I like that.
I don't dislike it, but it felt awkward compared to some of the other stuff. A lot of the fighting in general, like it's very 90s fighting. Like we've been over the years kind of taught to film fight scenes in a different way. This is still like that, like a lot of Cuddy not following through things. Like even though they are the actors doing the moves and stuff, for most of them, it's very American action and not like what we've kind of adapted, the more like Asian style like fighting things where it's like longer scenes, we see things happening, a more seamless cut to when it uses a stunt man. And
yeah, they were not very, I guess, cinematic or like artsy with it. Sometimes there's some backlighting or some goofy stuff. Yeah. But I like how the fights, so like I tune out during a lot of fight scenes, especially gunfights now, because I'm an old man and I just want like story and like plot or like cinematographical interestingly things. But for these, in the beginning, it's just kicky punchy and I am kind of tuning out. But all the fights have an escalation curve, which I like. Yeah. And they forced me, who naturally tunes out a lot of the times, to be like, oh, cool, that's cool. What's that? Oh shit! And like, there would always be something. I think it's the Sub-Zero. No, it's the Reptile fight with Liu Kang, where he jumps on some big thing that spins.
Yes.
And like it
misses him with the first part, and then he comes around. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Every fight has something. There's some sort of set piece. Something falls, something breaks, somebody does something cool with their powers or whatever. I think it's really well done from that, from that angle.
Reptile might be the worst part of the movie when he's like original Reptile
thing.
CG. Yeah, his CG stands out
unforgivably
because he's not it's not a character where you're like, oh, I know what that looks like, which is usually makes them more forgiving. Like if you're trying to CG a person, you're like, I know what a person looks like. That's not a person. But this is like, that's like such a cartoony Reptile thing that it's
literally, I forget his name, but the Monsters Inc. The
oh yeah,
because he turns invisible and he looks horrible. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
They stole it from this.
Randolph
sounds right, or
something like that. Yes.
Yeah, but like, there's so many things about this that I love and carry over from as a child, loving, like thinking like, oh, this is probably a real thing. I should probably be practicing for this.
I should be training for this.
For Earthrealm.
Did you not know about the video game?
Oh no, I did.
Oh.
But you think that like a lot of things are like there are also soccer games, and I played soccer. Is there not Mortal Kombat?
You're like, they wouldn't have made a movie about it if there wasn't a real tournament.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that as a kid you think you're prepping for that are going to happen. Like there's a lot less trips to random foreign lands, I can tell you as an adult, than I thought I was going to have as a kid.
Yeah, you don't like hitch a ride inside of a crate and then end up in a foreign country. No, I think my take, if I was a child, I was going to call you a bad name, but if I was a child who thought things, everything was real, I would have been like, oh, well, there's 9.5 generations before the battle that counts, so I don't have to train for anything. We just reset the whole clock. It's fine now, right?
Well, if you keep winning, though, we don't ever have to get to that.
Exactly, but I don't care. I'll be long dead. Who knows?
We'll see. Head in a jar.
No. Every mortal is responsible for his own destiny.
So something I find interesting is the recruitment aspect. So, like, everyone is kind of tricked, except for Liu Kang, who, like, it's his birthright or whatever. But even he, to an extent, was tricked because... the big bad had to kill his brother, which made him get that telegram that says, brother's dead, come home.
Shang Tsung is orchestrating the whole thing.
That's what's strange.
That's the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah. So like, be it him turning into a person's like mentor or whatever, or
Master Bo,
or having.
The best fighters in the world are invited. You win the tournament, you win their respect.
And Kano be in the right place, but it's weird that he, as the bad guy, is trying to get the best Earth's competition to his side.
Mr. Shang Tsung.
I don't know why. The movie doesn't tell us, I think.
Because especially for a guy, they don't, as far as I understand, for trying to find the best competition, you'd think that that's like part of the rules. Well, you must fight Earth's best or you can't win.
Exactly.
And like, so he is finding Earth's best, whether they are willing or not, to do this tournament. But at the same time, like pulling shenanigans and sending people to attack and doing this and like, no, you do that and I'll say this and then I can challenge Sonya. And like, he had some love interest, it seemed, in Sonya because like he did her hair, he gave her some fucking makeup and a
that
dress.
was just.
I'm not playing your game.
Sonia, my sweet Sonia. There is no one else.
Has her tied up. He wants
just,
her in his realm. Brought him to see his mother. Like, you know, all that
to
jazz.
damsel in distress her and stuff. That was
I guess.
not a thing. It's for some reason Johnny Cage and Sonya are love interests. At the end, they're like
they
laughing.
become
It makes no
fast
sense.
love interests. We're like, it's like, they're like, okay, I can barely stand you. I can barely stand you. I can't let him hurt you.
I can't let what happened to Art happen to you. Not to you.
I'll fight him.
So out of left field, so unnecessary. But to your like original point, Shang Tsung's orchestrating it, which would make sense if there was a reason for it, and it would be great because I think in Street Fighter it's just a coincidence. Everyone just randomly ends up on that island fighting or something, right? There's no like
I don't
reason.
remember.
There
being a storyline to Street Fighter.
Well, all the characters you know and love end up together somehow, and I don't think it's a specific like.
There was a cartoon for Street Fighter that I think they were like a military unit.
An elite group of international crime fighters known only by their code name, Street Fighter.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can come up with anything, but like, yeah, I think the Street Fighter live action might not even bother. They just have him be in, you know, there's like a few army people, there's a few other people, and they just end up together somehow. But anyway, in this movie, yes, you would think, oh, that's cool. So we have an excuse. There's a prophecy. You must defeat Earth's champion. We're not sure which one of these three it is. So he has to get them all to the island, and there's a thing. And that's implied maybe, but it's not really made clear. And you get this decent shot of him morphing into the guy's master and some other setup, and they end up, oh, what's that weird old boat? Oh, let's do this. Oh, my compass doesn't work. Like, there's this whole flood of like
that was
goofy,
super strange. He's like, your phone is fine. Check your compass. How did he even know she had a compass?
Your radio equipment's fine. Look at your compass.
Ooh,
It was like a hidden in my watch compass, which I kind of want. I have no reason for it, but get me one.
I was gonna say you wear a watch too. Oh my god,
I do.
You can actually have a compass.
I could.
Yeah, Liu Kang's kind of a know-it-all. He's kind of like a smartass, which is interesting because Johnny Cage is supposed to be the smartass, and he also is. So it's a weird dynamic.
They're both like Spider-Man at times. I love when he throws his luggage and and he
tight.
looks and he just drops it. And that dude's like, I'm so rich, I don't even care. Good thing I didn't tell him to park my car.
Thank God I didn't ask him to park the car.
That line is one of a few that I was like, that isn't funny, but I'm smiling. I'm appreciating this.
Most of the things he says do get me to smile.
Like,
I don't crack. There's no laughter.
No.
There's no like ping like in my eye. I don't think I even said get him.
No, I
have, but he's got me my support.
I haven't laughed in years, but I think that like I appreciated his vibe, and that's a perfect example. I wish he parked the car because he would have thrown that into the river, the dock.
Him and his fucking luggage up that staircase.
So funny.
And then when he drops it and they're like sliding down the stairs, I'm like, you poor idiot. What was even in those? There's a lot of like little effects things that I love in the movie, like him like sucking the souls out of people. Sometimes looks like super badass.
Your soul is mine.
One like goes into his eyeball.
I was just gonna say when like the stretched out version of the dude in like the gi goes into his eye.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, yes. And then when he sucks the one like the stick fight guy, I think he's all like drained of his. He's like gray. He's like dead Optimus Prime.
Why was stick fight guy the only fight with weapons like sanctioned?
Listen,
Such a weird thing.
You're looking for.
Do they both have to
logic?
sign off on it? I need to know things like that. The one of the things that like I would love a little bit more explanation on, like if I could ask the writer or the director or something about, I think would be at the very end of the Scorpion fight scene when he does explode. there's just a signed picture of Johnny Cage on the ground.
Yes.
And I'm like, was he a fan? Was that in him all along? Was that where he's like, this is your target, and he gave him the picture? Or like, well, I want more information.
You're thinking more about it than Mr. Anderson.
I hate that often
Absolutely.
is the case.
Yes. No, I enjoy that moment. I felt like Johnny just has a bunch of those and one fell. I feel like that's the
worst
simplest
explanation of it. I hate that one.
But it's the correct one, yes.
Maybe.
I like your thing of like someone gave that, because I think Scorpion is like when, like on the boat when they square off. I think Scorpion is on Johnny's side. Like he might have been like that's your target. So that's awesome. Where it's like, I got this picture. I had to wait in line for 2 hours. This is your target.
There would have been a cool thing if it was like there's like, oh, he knows all my moves, and it's because he watches his movies and he learns this thing.
It cuts back to like Scorpion on a couch, right, with his flaming skull head
and a cigar,
watching TV, and he's just watching like that goofy I Fight Guys in Suits movie that they were making from the beginning.
I like that movie because they all had different weapons, and I think that's cool.
It is cool.
But yeah, like, what the fuck is that? Time to fall.
This is where you fall down.
Listen, that's an awesome scene because that shows you how bad this movie could have been, right? Where it's just dudes fighting, and like, and like that's a fight that I tuned out the whole thing. I'm like, I don't care about this fight at all.
Well, yeah, because it was clearly not a real thing.
I didn't know that.
No?
No, I thought like he's fighting some guys, and because like we are going around meeting all the characters there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought, oh, Johnny Cage is just fighting some people. I didn't even know he was Johnny Cage yet. I was just like, oh, this guy's fighting people, I guess. But it sucks. So I just like stopped paying attention to it, right? And that, by contrast, makes the real ass fighting. Liu Kang does the like in the air bicycle kick thing at one point. They do stuff from the games. It's so cool.
Yes, you hear finish him.
Finish him.
You hear fatality.
Yes. Fatality.
You hear flawless victory.
Flawless victory.
At the only fight that like it felt like it wasn't that
I think flawless victory happens twice.
The first time with Scorpion
was good.
Sub-Zero. That was obviously a flawless victory.
Flawless victory.
He got him. But then there's one with Goro where I'm like, he was punched many times.
There's
Yeah, that's it. Come on, in and out.
There's no way that he had any health left when he says flawless victory. That's crazy. Or like full health.
Yeah.
At that point, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Shang Tsung has the upper hand at one point. Liu Kang is like gonna die. It's crazy.
You're mine.
He chooses not to throw him onto the spikes though, which is dumb.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a movie.
Yeah, it ultimately ends with like what's the master guy's name? I forget.
The Emperor.
The Emperor, like
oh god, the ending. Oh
on
my
top,
god.
setting up a future sequel.
The Emperor.
The ending's amazing. Oh my god. Because like Chris Lambert is like, I had to put the costume on one more time, or this one scene. I had to travel. He does not give a shit, and he's just talking to them like, I had no idea if you were gonna do it. Humans are so unpredictable. He's doing this whole bullshit, and then this giant, goofy-looking emperor shows up, and Chris Lambert says some stupid line. Do you know what it is? I don't know what it is either.
I've come for your souls.
I don't think so.
And then they all go like, yeah, let's do it, folks. They all, yeah, they do their things. Yeah. Oh, and the fucking that song actually kind of sucks.
No, it's fantastic.
There's these weird like whoop 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 whoop. These weird like noises that come in.
That song is so powerful though. Yeah. Like it opens the movie, it closes the movie for a reason.
It's in the middle.
It plays a bunch of times in the middle. Actually,
keeps happening. It's crazy. Yes.
So good.
No, like that song is a part of our lives, but hearing it now, I'm like, oh, it's like whatever. I'm not,
Mortal Kombat. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Everything you need, a wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only